Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Junait Jani, and I would like to teach you how to solve quadratic equation by factorization method. This is what we are going to be covering uh, today in the class. We are going to be at least talking about or defining or probably describing what the quadratic equation looks like. We are also going to be recognizing and also understanding how the standard way with which a quadratic equation needs to be expressed or can be expressed. Then we are also going to factorize quadratic equation into linear factors, which will then be equated to zero and solved to get their root or get the value of x. So then we apply this quadratic equation to real life problems, and that will be the end. So first, let's look at this question and let's try to find out what kind of what kind of equation will this question lead to. So after we find out what it leads to, then we now solve it. So this question goes like this. You are told from the question say the product of two consecutive positive integer is 56. Find the integer. So let's the first integer, let the first integer be equals to x, and then the second integer be equals to x plus 1. So if the integers have been known because they are consecutive, that's how it's meant to be. What is now going to be the product of this integer? Yes, the product of this integer then will now be this x plus 1 equals to 56. I hope you know that product is achieved when you multiply the two of them together. So in order for us to be able to find the integer, the next thing we need to do now is to expand or by distributing this. Expand these factors by distributing this x to this, make this x also multiply like this. So x times x, let's do it together. X times x will give us what? X squared. Then x times 1 will give us what? X. And that will all be equated to what? 56. So this is a is an equation, but in order for us to express it in the standard form, we need to make everything to be equals to 0. And in order to do that, we subtract 56 from both sides. This first side, we subtract 56 from it. We have it like this. And this other side, if we subtract 56 from 56 minus 56 is going to be what? 0. Now, tada, we have, look what we have here. This is what we call a quadratic equation. We have been able to set up a quadratic equation. So next thing is for us to solve it. Next thing we want to do now is to solve it. Let's solve this quadratic equation and get our final answer. So from here, the first thing we are going to do now is what? We want to find the factor of 56. The factor pairs of 56. What are the factor pairs of 56? Aha, you know. The first one is very easy. You can say 56 times minus 1. Yes, this is a factor pair of 56. We can also come up with another one, which is going to be what? 8 times minus 7. Yes, the two are factor pairs of 56, but unfortunately, it is one of them that we are going to use. And which one are we going to use, my brother? Which one? We are going to use the one that when sum up together, the factor that when sum up together will be equal to this, be equals to the coefficient of this, and the coefficient of this x is 1. Coefficient of this x is 1. So if you look at this, there's no way you sum up 56 and 1 together and get 1. No way. But 8 and minus 7, yes, there's a way we can do that. 8 minus 7 is actually going to give you what? 1. So that is what we are going to do. This is the factor pair we will be using. This is factor pair we will be using. So what we are going to do now, open a bracket. You have x, you pick one of the factor that makes up the factor pair and put it inside. So the first one is what? Plus 8 and the second one is what? Minus 7, and you equate it to 0. So what we have been able to do right now is what? We have been able to reduce the quadratic equation to its factors. These are the factors that makes up this quadratic equation that we have here. These are the factors that makes up this quadratic equation that we have here. So the next thing we're going to do now is to equate each factor to 0. So x plus 8 equal to 0. If x plus 8 equals to 0, therefore x is going to be equals to minus 8. And the second one, x minus 7 equals to 0. If x minus 0 is equal to 7, then x is going to be equals to 7. Therefore, x is either equals to minus 8 or 7 power. That's it. That is how to solve the quadratic equation. So let's check here. A quadratic equation. Let's check here to understand the definition of quadratic equation. Quadratic equation is an equation of this form. It's an equation of this form. It's also a polynomial, but the polynomial is not is a polynomial with the highest degree of 2. With the polynomial where the variable is raised to the power of 2. We also have the same variable being raised to the power of 1. But yes, but the highest degree is 2. So it's a polynomial that has its highest degree or its highest power to be equals to 2. So all these are the definition that you can give to quadratic equation. So one thing you should know is this: a, b, c, a, b, and c are all integers. And what do we call integers? Integers are numbers that can either be positive or negative. And there's no way once a is equal to 0, this whole thing is not going to be a quadratic equation again. Take for example, let's make this a to be 0. This will be multiplied, 0 will be multiplied by this, which makes this to be 0. And we have 0 plus bx plus c plus, which is equal to 0. This is no longer a quadratic equation, but it was a linear equation. So a must not be equal to 0 if you are defining, or if you are looking for a quadratic equation. A must not be equal to 0. So let's go to the next one. Yeah, even though I've solved the quadratic equation earlier, I want to give you a review of the steps that I follow to solve the quadratic equation. The first step is that yes, you have to identify your quadratic equation. You have to make sure that yes, the quadratic equation is expressed in a standard form. And you know what I mean by that? If you have a quadratic equation like this, x squared plus 2x equals to 20. This is not standard form. You have to change it to the standard form. You have to make it to be like x squared plus 2x minus 20 equals to 0. Yes, this is the standard form of expression of quadratic equation. So the next thing, you have to factorize into brackets. So this factorized into bracket, the one I solved earlier is a monic quadratic equation. Now, what do we mean by monic quadratic equation? An equation that has the coefficient of x squared to be 1. To be what? 1. If the coefficient of x squared is 1, it is referred to as a monic quadratic equation, and that is the one that is very easy to solve. From this step like this, just go straight to what? To open plotting your factor, making your factors straight up is the best equation that you have. If you have it in the objective equation, you don't need to think too much. Within seconds, you've gotten your root, you've gotten your final answer. So you factorize into bracket. Now the next one, equate each factor to 0. After you have gotten your factor, you equate them to 0. Then once you equate them to 0, you have already known what your roots are, what the value of x are. That's it. Very straightforward, very interesting, and very nice. So now let's solve another question so that you'll be able to, I'll follow this step very well and make it very sweet and clean for you to love. So the first one, you have this question. The first thing you need to do is this. This is a monic quadratic equation. You don't need to stress yourself. by doing any product, just take your 6 and look for the factor pairs. Yes, you are going to at least have a two factor pairs. So the first one 6 times 1, and the second one will be what 2 times 3. Out of this factor pair, which of them can sum up to get you 5? It is this. Very straight up. So once you know that, you open your bracket x, you take this one, you add it to it. What do you have here? This plus 2. Yes, plus 2. Open another bracket. What do you have here? This plus 3. Plus 3. Equate everything to 0. Now, equate each factor to 0. X plus 2 equal to 0. And then solve for your x. Then x is going to be equal to minus 2. The second one, x plus 3 equal to 0. Then x equals to minus 3. Therefore, x equals to what? Minus 2 or minus 3. Perfect. Straight up. No stress, no problem. So here's another sweet question. This is an application question. So we have the area of rectangular garden is this. Yes. This is what you are given as the area of rectangular garden. And then it is also equated to 0, making it to be the complete quadratic equation we are talking about. As it is right now, we call quadratic expression, but if it is equated to 0, we have what we call a quadratic equation. So they say find the possible value of x. To do that, you write your quadratic equation here: x squared plus 7x plus 10 equals to 0. So the next thing you need to do, look for the factor pairs of 10. The factor pairs of 10 will be 2 times 5 and 10 times 1. But the one we need is the one that can sum up to give us 7. Which one? Which one? It is this one. So open your bracket x, take this one. What's this? This plus 2. Open another bracket x, take this. What is this? This is plus 5. Put everything to 0. Then solve for x. Equate each factor also to 0. So we have x equals to what? Minus 2. And then we have x equals to what? Minus 5. Therefore, x equals to what? Minus 2 or minus 5. This is another question that I want you to do. You can pause this video right here and solve it on your own to test yourself whether you have understood what we are talking about. Yes, pause it now and give it a go. Okay, I know, yes, you must have tried it. So let me now show you what the answers are. So number one, what you just do is this. Number one, what is my factor pairs of 21? Solution. Factor pairs of 21. So you have x squared plus 10x plus 21 equals to 0. The factor pairs of 21 will be, you have 2 times, and now you have 3 times 7. The second one is not, so 3 times 7 is straightforward. If you sum it together, you give it 10. So what is my factors? The factor that will help you take this one plus 3 and take this one plus 7. Plus 7, equate everything to 0. So your final answer will be what? X equals to minus 3 and x equals to minus 7. So the second one, look at this straight up. Just look at this straight up. Number 15, what we have here is what? Minus 15. What are the factor pairs of this? Number 1. Number 2, what are the question is this: x squared minus 2x minus 15 equals 0. What are the factor pairs of minus 15? The factor pair of minus 15 will be what? Minus 3 times 5. Very good. The remaining one is what? 15 times minus 1, which is not going to give you what you want. So here you have minus 53 times 5. But one thing you should look at is this. If you sum minus 3 and 5 together, what will you get? You get plus 2, which means you need to make adjustments to your factor pairs. So And then you have what if, which means you are now going to have what? Minus 5 times 3. Yes, this will give you what you have. So take note of this. Don't make this mistake. If you mistakenly come up with this at first and use it, and you are going to get the wrong answer. But you have to look at it very well, because this is what will give you plus minus 2 as your sum. This is what will give you minus 2 as a sum. Minus 5 plus 3 is minus 2. So this is what you are going to use. You slot it into the bracket. The first one is minus 5, and then you have this plus 3. You equate each to 0. X minus 5 equals to 0 is going to give you what? X equals to 5. And this one, x plus 3 equals to 0, is going to give you x equals to minus 3. So your answer is good. X is therefore going to be either 5 or minus 3. So the last but not the least question is this. Yeah, you are asked, why do we equate each factor to 0? We equate each factor to 0 because of one theory that we have. We call it a product theory. The product theory says that if you have products that equate to 0, one of the factors of the product is definitely going to be 0. So, and if one of the factors is equal to 0, we can easily equate, we can calm down and equate one of them to 0, so that we can solve for the unknown. We have to equate one of the factors to 0, so that we can be able to solve for the unknown. So that's why we equate this one to 0, and we solve for the unknown. And then once we are not doing anything with this, we equate this one to 0 and solve for the unknown. So that's just it. Equate it to 0, equal to 0, because one of them is equal to 0. So that this one is equal to 0. So that's why our answer is always going to be ending with or, because it's either this one that is equal to 0 or this one that is equal to 0. It's a product theory. Since both of them multiply together to give us one of them must be equal to 0. Now say, is this one or this one? That's why we equate this one to 0 and this. So hope it's very clear to you right now. So now the takeaway for this class is this: quadratic equation is an equation that has the highest power of 2. Linear equation has the highest power of 1, and then we have cubic equation, which is what? 3. But quadratic equation is one that we have here, and the highest power is 2. We solved everything by factorization method. Know that yes, there are so many other methods that we can also use to solve quadratic equation. Have so many methods, but the one we use in this class is factorization method. And then each factors is equated to 0. We have to do that so that we can be able to get our roots, the value of x. So now, for you to sharpen your skill of solving quadratic equation with factorization method, solve all these questions as an assignment. And one thing you should know is that they are all monic quadratic equation. We have not started with the other type of quadratic equation. Maybe next class we'll move to the next one, the other type of quadratic equation. So thank you very much and have a nice day. Take care.